The sun was high, the air thick with summer heat, and the community pool at Pinewood Grove buzzed with laughter and splashing kids. It was the kind of day that felt like it could last forever until it didn't. I was lounging on a deck chair, watching my 9-year-old son, Ethan, glide through the shallow end, his face lit up with a grin I hadn't seen in weeks. Swimming was his escape, his way of feeling whole again after losing his leg in a car crash 3 years ago. His prosthetic leg, carefully placed on a towel by the pool's edge, gleamed under the sun, a quiet reminder of his resilience. But then, like a storm cloud rolling in, she appeared, Lisa Thornton, the neighborhood's self-proclaimed queen of rules, clipboard in hand, her blonde hair frozen in place, her eyes scanning for anything out of line. What happened next turned our perfect afternoon into a nightmare that still gives me chills. We'd only been in Pinewood Grove for 3 months, fresh off a messy divorce that left me and Ethan starting over. The neighborhood seemed like a dream. Tidy lawns, a sparkling pool, and neighbors who greeted us with warm smiles and homemade pies. They'd ask about Ethan's prosthetic with genuine curiosity, never making him feel like an oddity. I thought we'd found our safe haven, a place where Ethan could rebuild his confidence. He'd gotten so good at managing his prosthetic, popping it off before swimming, clicking it back on like it was no big deal. The pool was a sanctuary, where he could move freely, unburdened. But Lisa Thornton had other ideas. Lisa lived in the grandest house on our street, the kind that screamed money and control. As the HOA president for 5 years running, she wielded her authority like a scepter. Every morning, she'd patrol the neighborhood, her clipboard a weapon, jotting down infractions with a smirk. I'd seen her measure a neighbor's grass with a ruler, snap photos of a mailbox with a smudge, and lecture kids about bike tire marks on driveways. At first, we flew under her radar, but that didn't last. It started with a notice on our door. Our lawn was a 1/4 inch too long, and she griped about water spots on our mailbox. Soon, her laser focus landed on Ethan's pool toys, claiming they violated some vague HOA rule about recreational equipment. Every time we hit the pool, there she was, hovering, snapping pictures, muttering about standards. Things got worse when Lisa zeroed in on Ethan's prosthetic. One Tuesday, she marched up to us at the pool, her voice dripping with fake concern, and declared the prosthetic unsanitary for the pool area. The other families froze, their conversations dying as Ethan's face flushed with confusion. I bit back my anger and explained as calmly as I could that the prosthetic was clean and Ethan had every right to remove it to swim. Lisa just sniffed, adjusted her glasses, and said she'd be filing a complaint with the HOA board. That was the last straw. I spent hours compiling a formal complaint of my own, complete with photos and statements from neighbors who'd seen her targeting Ethan. I sent it to the board, expecting justice. Weeks passed. Nothing. Lisa only got bolder, showing up every time we were at the pool, her clipboard like a ticking bomb, her comments about pool safety loud enough for everyone to hear. Ethan started asking to skip the pool, his spark dimming under her relentless scrutiny. That Saturday, the pool was packed, alive with families soaking up the sunshine. Ethan was in the shallow end, laughing with other kids, his strokes strong from weeks of practice. For the first time in forever, I let myself believe we belonged here. Then I saw her, Lisa, striding across the deck, her face set in that familiar scowl. She planted herself right by Ethan's towel, where his prosthetic lay, her eyes darting between it and the crowd. I could feel the tension building, like the air before a lightning strike. When Ethan climbed out to take a break, dripping and smiling, Lisa pounced. Before anyone could blink, she snatched his prosthetic leg, hoisting it above her head like a trophy. "No toys in the pool area," she bellowed, her voice slicing through the chatter. The pool fell silent, every eye on her. Ethan's smile vanished, replaced by a look of pure terror that ripped my heart in two. I lunged forward, but Lisa was too fast. "This is about community standards," she shrieked, and with a heave, she hurled Ethan's prosthetic over the 6-foot fence, into the tangle of thorny bushes beyond. The crack of it hitting the branches echoed like a gunshot. Ethan collapsed, sobbing so hard he could barely breathe, his hands reaching for something that wasn't there. I froze, my blood pounding in my ears as other parents gasped and kids started crying. Lisa stood there, clipboard clutched to her chest, unapologetic, lecturing the crowd about rules while my son fell apart. Some parents whipped out their phones, recording her tirade, while others rushed to comfort Ethan, their voices a mix of outrage and disbelief. "How could you?" one mom shouted. Lisa just doubled down, insisting she was the only one brave enough to enforce the HOA standards. The aftermath was a blur of fury and action. Within hours, the VY Deos spread like wildfire through our neighborhood chat, then hit local news. My phone buzzed nonstop with messages from neighbors offering help, their anger at Lisa palpable. Some even braved the thorny bushes to search for Ethan's prosthetic, but it was mangled beyond repair. I drove to the police station, my hands shaking as I filed reports for property damage, harassment, and discrimination against a disabled child. The officers' faces hardened as I recounted the story, their disgust mirroring mine. By morning, disability rights groups had amplified the story online, and strangers from across the country were sending donations for a new prosthetic for Ethan. The neighborhood, once cowed by Lisa's reign, erupted in support for Ethan, with calls for her removal from the HOA board growing louder by the hour. The following Tuesday, I watched from my window as police cars pulled up to Lisa's mansion. She screamed as they cuffed her, her voice carrying across the street. "This is a conspiracy. I'm a VY Tim here." Neighbors gathered, whispering, some cheering quietly as she was led away, still clutching at her dignity. The charges were serious: property damage and harassment of a disabled minor. At the trial, Lisa's defense was a masterclass in delusion. She claimed she was protecting the community, that Ethan's prosthetic was a distraction from pool safety. The judge wasn't buying it. Lisa got 6 months in jail, a Dulaw $15,000 fine to cover Ethan's new prosthetic and emotional distress, and a permanent ban from any HOA role. When the gavel fell, her face turned crimson, and she erupted, screaming that the system was rigged against law-abiding citizens who care about property values. The courtroom buzzed, and I held Ethan's hand, feeling a weight lift, even if the scars remained. Looking back, that day at the pool broke something in our little community, but it also rebuilt something stronger. Ethan's confidence is coming back, thanks to the neighbors who rallied around him, but I'll never forget the look on his face when Lisa threw his prosthetic away. It's a reminder of how one person's cruelty can ripple, but also how a community's courage can push back. So what do you think? Was Lisa just a stickler for rules gone too far, or was she a bully hiding behind HOA power? Should Ethan's family have confronted her sooner, or was the system to blame for letting her run unchecked? And what would you have done if you were there that day? Would you have stood up to her, recorded it, or stayed silent? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button if this story got your blood boiling, and subscribe for more real-life drama that'll keep you on the edge of your seat.